here. We had been a part of the Rock Church for about 5 years, but it was because the way my business works, we could really live anywhere. So we started coming out for 3 months, and then 4 months, and then 5 months. We were part of a small group, and we finally decided, let's just move to San Diego because our taxes weren't nearly high enough in Georgia. we gotta make the move, right? And so when we decided to come out here, and I contacted the church, and I said, hey, we've been a part of a small group, a rock group for a long time, but I'm here now in any way I can serve, specifically in leadership or with business. And the person, not persons, the person who reached out to me and said, hey, Dr. Rob, I just saw this and you're coming out, and we have some consistencies in our background. He's done some stuff with John Maxwell, and I ran a couple of John's companies, and what are you getting here? Okay, well, if that's what you're getting here, let's do this. I'll take you out to lunch on this day, and let's start getting you, and all of a sudden he's reaching out, doing everything he can to make me feel welcome. And for me, coming from a different state, we're sitting there and over lunch, and it was like this huge exhale. It was like, thank you, God. Someone's taking care of me. It was great. And that's because he not only has the business and expertise, but he has the heart. So please welcome my friend, Tom Jeffries.
All right, thank you. So, we'll talk about influence today, and influence is what makes the world go around. About 15 years ago, my daughter, who was a teenager at the time, she said, Dad, you gotta come watch this TV show with me. So I'm like, all right, well, your teenage daughter asked you to watch a TV show, you plop down, TV goes on, and this really handsome young man standing in front of this villa, and one by one, limousines are pulling up and these gorgeous girls are getting out, right? And as you haven't guessed it by now, it was The Bachelor.
Oh.
So, don't judge me. I know I'm ashamed, but when your teenage daughter asks you to do something, you do it. And then, as you've watched the show before, whenever somebody gets out of a limo, they see their names, what city they're from, and their job title. So a while ago, probably maybe about 6-7 months ago, I'm channel surfing and I see, The Bachelorette. So I said, okay, let me click on it and see what's happening. And it's the first show again. This time, it's the young lady that's standing there, and the guys are getting out of the limo one by one. And I'm looking at the occupations, and 15 years ago, it was like accountant, pharmacist, sales executive. And now, like every fourth guy is an influencer.
Yeah.
So if it's an official occupation on The Bachelor, then it exists. But I bet you every one of you at least influenced 10 people already today. Because the fact is, you're all influencers. If you're in sales, you're probably influencing the person across the table from you, say, buy my product. If you're that person across the table, you're trying to influence the salesperson to sell you that product at a cheaper or better price. All you guys who are single, I'm sure 2 days ago, 3 days ago, you got yourself a bouquet of flowers, made a great reservations for a restaurant, because you were trying to influence your bride-to-be to become your bride, right? And by the way, when she becomes your bride, she's going to influence you to make sure you take out the garbage and do all those chores around the house so she doesn't have to tell you 6 times over, right? So it's all about influence, and today I want to share with you 6 different ways that you can influence folks. And by the way, I don't want to disappoint anybody up front, because I'm not going to reveal some earth-shattering formula about how to influence others that you haven't heard before. I just want to share with you some common sense solutions. But as we all know, common sense is not so common. Right. I told this from Dr. Rob when he spoke here last year. All your handouts, they have this answer keys on the bottom. So you don't have to worry about keeping track. You can cheat, well, not cheat, but you can just fill those in later on. So ready for the 5 keys?
Yeah.
All right, well, before we get into the 5 keys, I want to share with you the most influential people in my life that influenced me. And you're my crowd, man. You're my tribe. This room is full of ladies, and I've been surrounded by ladies all my life. If you look in the middle of the picture, that's myself, my wife. Jennifer is the oldest. Nicole and Alex is the youngest. And there's a story behind each one of these pictures, but if I went down that route, we wouldn't have time to do anything else. So I just want to share one story. You can see we're very, very active. But the girls have me wrapped around their finger. You know, I do whatever they want me to do. And my wife was the disciplinary, but when the kids were young, they kind of got under my skin one time. And each time they got under my skin, I was like, all right, time out. Stand against the wall with your toes touching, 2 minutes. All right, time out. And Jennifer and Nicole were like, oh, okay, let's stand up. They do their 2 minutes. And then, now Alex is 3, which is my youngest. Nicole's about 10, and Jennifer's about 16. And I say to Alex, that's it, time out, toes against the wall. And Alex at 3 turns to me and goes, you're crazy. I'm not doing that. And I was like, no, I'm Dad, I told you. Stand against the wall. She goes, no way, I'm not doing that, you're nuts. So this goes back and forth about 2 or 3 times, and I finally burst out laughing because I think it's the funniest thing. And I look over at Jennifer and Nicole, and they're like, what the? Like, how stupid are we? Like, why did we do this when we had? Like, we didn't have to do it. So I clearly failed to influence my 3 daughters, right? I failed to influence Jennifer and Nicole because even though they did it, they didn't have their heart in it. They thought it was dumb, but they did it anyway because I told them to do it. And Alex is plain out refused to do it. So I was thinking about, that's just like a work situation, right? Because your boss tells you to do something, and you really don't want to do it. You think it's dumb, but you do it anyway because you don't want to get fired. They pay, they sign your paycheck. And then, one day somebody says, well, that's the dumbest thing I heard, I'm not doing that. And then kind of everybody also jumps on the bandwagon, and they're not doing it either. And if you're in a position of authority, you can't just ask and tell people to do something. You have to influence them. Right? You get their heart into it, you got to influence them. So that's what these all 6 keys are about. And also, the opposite is true, which is if you're not in a position yet, a lot of people are hesitant to say, well, I don't have that job title. I don't know how to influence, so I'm going to kind of just sit on the sideline because I really don't feel confident about influencing somebody else. But I can tell you nothing could be further from the truth. The story I want to share with you is about my wife. We lived all over the world. We were expats, and this happened this time when it was 9/11. We happened to be living in England, and just ironically, we're waiting about 20 minutes for the real estate agent to show up to show us this house, and we're living in this house called a manor farmhouse. And by the way, if you've been to England, there's no house numbers. All the houses just have names. I don't know how they find the numbers, but so I can actually see the Windsor Castle there, horse barn next to us, and beautiful oak trees. And the day we move in, you can hear the airplanes flying right over us. So we're right in the a flight path. So we're about 5 minutes outside of Heathrow, just like we're closer to here to San Diego Airport. So 9/11 happens, right? And we're watching TV just like anybody else is watching TV, and everybody was glued to the news. And we wanted to help get back to New York. We had a lot of friends in New York, and we couldn't do that. In fact, as a side note, I lost 2 very close, well, not really close friends, but 2 friends that I grew up with. They were firemen, they perished, and then we found out 2 more guys perished in 9/11. But we're watching TV just like everybody else is, and there's a person from British Air that says, look, it's an act of war. There's nothing we can do. So everybody's on their own. And you can just see like thousands of people in the background just stranded. They're just stranded all over. So Kathy's like, all right, we can't get to New York, so I feel like I gotta help. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she just physically gets in her car, drives out to Heathrow, and starts talking to people. And it turns out, well, there's 2 big problems. One is all the hotels are sold out, so people are sleeping on the floors. And if you've been to Heathrow, it's one of the most expensive airports in the world, so people are out of money. So my wife says, okay, I got an idea. Let me start calling all the parents of the school. I say, hey, Lee, can you house some people who are stranded? And she goes, yeah, we can house somebody. So she makes a couple of calls, and before you know it, about an hour or 2 hours later, the school bus shows up at the airport, pack it up with people, take it back to the school parking lot, and all the folks are there meeting the people to house, and they take them home. So the next day, we're at the airport, and British Air walks up to Kathy and said, oh, we love what you're doing. Here's a badge from British Air. Whatever you need, you got it. 9/11, she gets security clearance to British Air in the airport, right? Then she calls a couple of other friends from the International Women's Club who had kids in other international schools, because there was 4 in the London area. So now on day 2, you've got 4 school buses picking up people at the airport, going to 4 parking lots, and people picking up there. On probably like the 3rd or 4th day when things start opening up, Virgin calls her, Virgin Air, and she said, "Oh, Kathy, we love what you're doing. We have a plane heading to the U.S. It's got 80 seats on it that are open. We can get 80 people to the airport in the next 3 hours." They got flights home, right? So the fact is, Kathy didn't work for the schools. She didn't work for the airport. She didn't work for the airlines. But yet, she got hundreds of families, 4 schools, and 2 airlines to do something without a job title, without a budget, without people. So the lesson for me on this one is, if you want to do something and influence people, find a great cause. You know, if you find a great cause, people will follow, people will jump on, and you'll have resources available for you that you just wouldn't know. And I want to share a scripture with each one of these passages, and look, you know, is there a better great cause than the Great Commission? I mean, that's what we're all about. That's why you're in this room. Share your faith, share your heart, and bring people to the Lord. That's the most important reason, right? So we're almost ready for the 5 keys, or the 5 things that I want to share with you. But before doing so, I'm actually going to give you back the room for about 5 minutes. I want you to have a table topic discussion to say, who is one person that really influenced your life? And what did they do to influence that? And some of you already participated in this. Diana asked some of you at the, not the hotel lobby, but the church lobby last Sunday, and you jotted down some of the people that influenced your life. So I'd love to have a 5 minute, and 5 minutes, let's be disciplined about it, and then we can take the room back. So go ahead, enjoy.
Alright. Who has influenced you guys in the past year? Why? And what did they do? Whoever would like to go first.
Oh, is part1?
For all, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
5 minute table topic, yeah. For all of us. Okay.
So I read a ton of books. That's just how I feel.
I love that.
Everything. And one of the main influences is